All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr previewing Kentucky versus Florida on Saturday, the SEC opener for both teams. And Max and I were laughing before we started this thing because we had to do a double take. I was like, Max, what time is this game being played? Give me the station, give me the time. Like, I know it's probably ESPN, but what time they playing? And Max goes, I think it's 10 a.m. Central. I said, what? 10 a.m.? Are you serious? You sure it's not 11? You sure it's not noon? You sure it's not 8 p.m.? They're playing at 10 a.m. on Saturday. My goodness. What a start to league play. Let's start it at 8 a.m. Why not? But, yeah, what a setup we have for this game. Always a fun game each season, but as we've said many times here on the channel, an unprecedented start for SEC basketball. Every team with 10 or more wins entering SEC play, and the Gators have a lot of those wins as they have 13, not yet lost a game, as we know. Florida's just been fantastic to this point. Meanwhile, Kentucky, 11-2 on the season in Mark Pope's first year on the job. A couple losses we know at Clemson, had kind of the head-scratching one to Ohio State, but also have some really good wins. They've beaten Duke, they've beaten Gonzaga, and so, Max, what a setup for these two rivals at Rupp Arena at 10 a.m. Central Time on Saturday.
The morning special. Get your hot cakes ready. Get the coffee pot going. Get up. Get the alarm set Friday night. You don't want to miss this one. Rise and shine. Early bird gets the worm. Rematch of last year's opener, which was honestly one of the best SEC games of the entire year last year. That was the Aaron Bradshaw 3 late in that game. That was Kentucky at Florida. Kentucky won by 2 points.
89-87?
87-85.
I was like, I don't know why I remember that game so well, but yes, it was one of those, one of the best games of the season right off the bat. Yeah.
It was such a good game. Kentucky scored 50 points in the second half to steal that one on the road. It was just an incredible game. I think we're going to be in for another great one. I'm pretty confident on this line. Blake, as we record this, obviously it's not out yet, but I think this can be a pick 'em. I think it's going to be an even pick 'em. I don't see it going more than 1.5 either side. I think you got a classic 50-50 pick 'em here on the betting spread.
Yep. I'm curious if it swings in Kentucky's favor a little bit because it's Kentucky,
Right.
and they're the home team. But nonetheless, I think this is so fascinating because it's a tale of two different stories here with these two teams because Florida, 13-0, as I mentioned earlier, they have just beat the brakes off of pretty much everybody they played to this point. Their closest game, 6 points to North Carolina. Everybody else they've beaten by 13 or more, including just some completely one-sided games in there as well. Strength of schedule is not like in the 300s either. It's upper 190s, lower 200s, something like that in most places that I've seen. So, that's not bad. It's about in the middle, right? So, no, they're not playing Auburn, Alabama type schedules to this point, but man, they have been so good. And I think that's where you have to give Florida some credit. Top 15 in the country, offensively and defensively to this point. They have just, and we talked about it, when your guard plays as good as theirs is, that's sometimes all you need. But that's not all they have. It's the front court that's really stepped up, knowing this season, there's no Tyrese Samuel. We knew Micah Henlogden was not going to be playing after the injury at the SEC tournament. And we were wondering, what's this thing going to look like up front, right? But when you see how they've been able to mix and match these different guys up front, Max, that has been a big part of Florida's success, too, as they head into this game here in Lexington.
Yep, the addition of Elijah Martin in the backcourt continues to be probably the most underrated portal pickup in the SEC so far. He has not single-handedly launched this. What are they now? Florida's defensive efficiency, 14th. Okay, and last year they finished 94th. So it's not literally just Elijah Martin. It's been a collective buy-in by this team, but he has done wonders for this perimeter defense. Wonders. It's night and day difference. This is the number 2 3-point defense in the country. But you flip it to the Kentucky defense. They are the number 6 3-point defense in the country, talking percentage-wise. So you have quite literally 2 of the very best perimeter guard defenders, 3-point, whatever you want to categorize that as. This is quite literally 2 of the best in the nation, regardless of conference.
Well, and we know both have some guys who can shoot it too, and that's going to make it
Right.
very interesting because they both can put up some shots and make some shots from the perimeter. I'm looking at it now. I think Kentucky 52nd nationally in 3-point attempts per game, 27.5 attempts per game for the Cats. I think Florida is going to be a little bit further down as I look through this, but again, we know these guys can make plays. They can hit open shots. And I think that's going to be a big part of this game because I do feel like Max, there's going to be some points put up here in this one, and so I mean that's the thing to me. Like we talk about so many different like kind of matchups in the conference. To me, this is one like just on paper feels like one of those just most fascinating matchups just based on 1 through 5. Right, go through every single position, and you're seeing some different things that you can kind of highlight in this matchup and say, all right, well, that's a big something there that guy has to be able to do this against this guy or whatever. You've got a Lamont Butler who we know have talked about just kind of the pedigree of somebody like that. But then on the other side, we're like Walter Clayton's one of the best in the SEC. Like he's one of the best in the country, like in terms of what he can do, right? So there's so many different things about this matchup that I mean, it's like where do you even start when you talk about just kind of the differences with the defensive numbers and then just the individual numbers? Man, it's just like the 1 through 5 matchups here are incredible.
Yeah, and before I dive into these individual matchups, team wise, home and road splits. There's a little bit of a storyline here. So our great friend Evan Mia he has a metric called home rank. Okay, home rank is a team's rank and how much better they perform at home than the road. It's basically just the higher you rank in his home ranking, you have a larger like home road split, basically, if that makes sense. So last year, Florida was number 2 in the SEC in home rank. They were just so tough to play at Florida, but when they went on the road, it was a very big difference, second highest difference in the conference home and away for Florida. That was last year. This year, Kentucky has the number 1 home rank so far. So Kentucky this year has had the biggest difference home and away split. Last year it was Florida. So it's just that's a little bit of a storyline carrying into this year. I don't know how it's going to translate, but carrying over from last year, Blake, in games where Florida went on the road, that would usually be a very big piece would be, hey, you are catching Florida on the road here, and they have played much worse on the road compared to home. So I don't know if that's going to translate to this year. Different team, better defense, but I felt like it was worth mentioning.
No, for sure. And I was trying to find the number. I was like, they can't be this far down, but I had to go back. I was like, I skipped over Florida. They're 46th in 3-point attempts, 28.2. So two teams in the top 50 in 3-point attempts per game. So you're going to see some shots put up from the perimeter. But as you said, look at the defense for these two teams so far in that area. But if you want to bet on this game, which could be a pick 'em, as Max said, you can do it at our friends at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. Largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. It's all there. Head to BetOnline today. Don't forget, use that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, Max, I always like to ask this question, and the answers we come up with sometimes are the best. It's going to be that dude's game. Like who's like it's the legacy game for this guy. Who's it going to be in this game? Because I think there's a lot of different options. If you had to pick one guy on each team, all right, like it's got to be a that guy game or it's got to be a that guy game. Like who's it going to be here?
So first one that comes to my mind for Kentucky is Andrew Carr, because I think the way that the Florida guards have been defending, Elijah Martin, whoever he's on, they're in for a tough night. And just the way that the Florida front court, the depth is almost like a Texas A&M, where it's like 4 guys, constant rotation, just constantly. There's really no drop off. So a guy like Andrew Carr, where Amari Williams and Garrison can go 1-2, 1-2 all game. Almanor, he adds that nice shooting touch, but Carr's a different beast in there. And so I feel like they're going to need a group effort from Williams and Garrison but Carr has got to hold his own at that 4 spot because whoever it is, Tommy Hawk, if it's Sam Alexis, if it's Condon playing next to Chinyelu, whoever's at that 4 for Florida, it's going to be a big old physical battle, and Andrew Carr is going to have that all game.
Yeah, I think he's a good choice, and honestly, I'll go with the guy on the other side, like an Alex Condon. Like I feel like he is another, and these are like probably obvious choices in some of these, but Condon's someone I think that they really need a big game out of here because we mentioned too, like you've got a lot of 3-point attempts, so rebounding is important, especially on the offensive or defensive glass. Like knowing there's going to be longer type rebounds in a game like this, and we know kind of what he's been able to do there. But he's also a guy that can block shots, and I think that's something where, when you think about the way Kentucky can beat you, yes, we've talked about the 3-point shooting and those kind of things, and Mark Pope wanting that magic number, of 30 or whatever. But, you also think about the kind of plays that are going to be made at the rim in these kind of games. These two teams, Max, like not really shooting a ton of free throws, and I think that's why, because they're shooting more threes, they're shooting a lot more shots, just jump shots. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see like the role that Condon plays in this game because, as we know, he's someone who can do a little bit of everything, and he's also been great at getting to the free throw line. So I think that's something else too. How does that kind of play into this game? Because if you can, let's say, get an Amari Williams in foul trouble or something like that, like that changes the dynamic a bit for Kentucky. So I'll go with Alex Condon for my pick. But picks, Max, for this one. This is, we're picking every game on the opening slate. And because of what you said a minute ago, like if we're projecting this as a pick 'em, no surprise, but I think this is the toughest game to pick of the opening weekend slate because I just think that there are reasons you can make for both of these teams. And, once again, our picks mean absolutely nothing. This is the joy of SEC basketball this season is we're going to get a lot wrong because the league is so strong. But where are you headed on this one, Max? Or you can give Chris Lee's pick first if you want to give yourself a little more time here. We've got the submission from Chris Lee. We should have had just like a computer AI voice, just read off Chris's picks here. But whichever way you want to go first, you can.
I'm confident in my pick, and I don't like that I'm confident in it.
Oh boy.
But I am. I'm going to go Florida here on the road. I think they get revenge for last year's flip it from last year. Florida losing the heartbreaker at home. I like their assist rate defense. Like they do not let many assists at all. They're 14th in the nation in assist rate defense. They force you into isolation. And I think this is a Kentucky team that is just going to play right into that backcourt strength of Florida. And it just happens to be a Florida team that can rotate all those bigs nonstop. If always driving nonstop, drawing contact, and you get Condon in trouble, just like you said, you still got Chinyelu, right? It's not that much of a drop off. I think this is a Florida team this year that's built to win tough games on the road. I'm going to go Florida here kind of confidently. I don't know why I'm so confident. It's just kind of a gut feeling.
Well, they've looked good. I mean, good.
I'm pretty confident in the Gators here. Chris, not so confident in the Gators. Chris went the Cats. Chris is going to Kentucky. Yep. Chris is going to pick Kentucky here. So
thank goodness. Because I thought I was going to be put in a position where I'm like, oh no, like what do I do? Southeastern 16 kiss of death, potentially on the line. Biggest game of the season, starting at 10 a.m. What do I do? But now I actually can just pick a team and not feel like it's on my shoulders. Max, I'm going to give you a trivia note here. Do you know how many SEC team or how many home games were played in non-conference play between the 16 SEC teams?
Oh, just total home games?
Yeah, just the non-conference play. How many? Just throw a number out there.
50.
127. All right.
Times 3.
Do you know how many times the SEC teams won those home games out of 127?
126.
125. Texas lost one. South Carolina lost first game of the season to North Florida. Texas lost to the back-to-back defending national champion UConn.
You're telling me I just picked against the 125 for 127 trend?
What? Because this is a pick'em and it's the first game of conference play, I am leaning on the numbers here. And now look, it's different, right? Kentucky didn't play a team the caliber of Florida at home. So I know that. I get it. Like, I'm just kind of, I'm manipulating the numbers a little bit here. But because I don't have a better answer, I'm going to pick Kentucky at home at Rupp Arena, because I think anytime these two teams play, I just feel like it's always pure entertainment, and I just feel like it's going to be close when you just consider the two games they played last year, right? 87-85 in Gainesville. 94-91 in overtime last year. And remember, each of these teams won on the road last year, which was a little bit different. But that's what happened. Mark Pope's first big game at Rupp Arena as the head coach of Kentucky. He's playing a Florida team that I still think is 100% legit. They were number 3 in our power rankings this week. Look, I think Florida will absolutely win this game, but I'm going to lean on that 125-2 here and pick the Cats to bounce back, because I think there's something to like, the fact that I know that was a couple weeks here, a week and a half ago, whatever, that Ohio State game.
Still in play.
It kind of a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth for Kentucky, and I think they'll want to come back here with something to prove. I know they beat Brown, but still, this is a big game, a lot of hype, and I think that early start's interesting too. But
yeah,
give me the Cats to make one more three-pointer than Florida and win this game in a close one. But
I like it.
Don't be surprised with any outcome here, because I think these two teams are going to put up some points, and I think if I had to rank the games right now, this would be number 1 on my list for the weekend. So there you go.
Come chat with us after.
Yep, we'll be live after. We'll be talking about it. Kentucky, Florida, and every other game on Saturday in SEC play. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. Come back, hang out with us. We'll be talking about it. You can also join us on Friday night. If you're watching this before then, we're doing a Friday night marathon here on YouTube live to get you ready for Saturday's games. We'll be talking about this and all sorts of basketball stuff as well. So come hang out with us on Friday. You never know who might show up on the special marathon stream. So come check it out. We appreciate you supporting our SEC basketball coverage as always, and we'll talk to you again soon at Southeastern 16.